dash in, and he steals the bird! How did that connect by Edgeway?
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Amazon E-Masters. We're getting ready to go into our second game of the day. From the top of Group B, we're going all the way down to the bottom. The two teams who unfortunately haven't been able to find themselves a win so far. That is PENTA and TRC. PENTA obviously from the Dark League, the second seed from the Prime League over in the Dark region, and then the NLC's first seed TRC. And you know, I feel like PENTA have definitely, their games have been closer than TRC's games. TRC's games have been pretty rough so far.
Yeah, TRC, they're not having a great time of it. I think most people's expectations may be aligning with that anyway. But I think, at least, you know, to me, coming from the region, it's been a bit difficult to watch them play. They've kind of sat on their hands a little bit too much, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I think at a tournament like the Amazon European Masters, where there's always very, very proactive teams, whilst you might be able to get away with it in the Nordics, it's a very different style of play here. And PENTA, you know, part of that game actually yesterday, which was very slow, so that could potentially benefit TRC, honestly, if we do end up seeing a bit of a, you know, a slow game where TRC end up kind of drafting this sort of, you know, waiting till 2 items plus to really make loads of proactive plays kind of composition. It could give them an in, honestly. So I think this would be TRC's best opportunity to pick up a win in the first round robin, and I think realistically, you know, both teams are 0-2, so it's going to be their best chance both. But I think for TRC's style of play in particular, if PENTA, like yesterday, kind of just scale and play to kind of just wait and nothing really happens, it's going to benefit this team who love to funnel resources into DenVoksne and then play through.
Yeah. I think that is the big thing, is, you know, DenVoksne has been domestically the superstar player for TRC. He's been someone who does sit back and farm, and I mean, it shows even in this tournament. You know, there's a lot of AD talent. I think ADCs are probably one of the most stacked roles during this Amazon E-Masters, but DenVoksne currently sits at the most CS per minute, 10.4 CS per minute. It's the highest of any AD carry in the league. And he's got a 1.7 KDA. It's just like, he's down in gold at 15. It's like, I can't wrap my head around it, but he just, unfortunately, what he does back in the NLC is he does farm up a storm while his team stall out for him, and then he carries fights. But the stalling side isn't happening, and the team are kind of just crumbling around him, and then he shows up to a fight like incredibly farmed. There was one game,
there,
I think it was their game versus PDW, where actually he has the most farm in the tournament in a single game, and it was like 430 or 450 CS, and it's just like, he turns up with all this gold, but he just can't spend it because his team just melt. They're just like wet paper to the enemy team, and then he himself gets taken out. So I like them playing around DenVoksne, but I think they need to find an early game insurance as well, because I don't think this has been a particularly amazing performance so far from the likes of Poulsen and Madley. And you know, PTA, they've had their moments. I think you know, they could very realistically not be 0-2. They could be 1-1 going into this game. There's been moments where they could have taken their games.
Yeah, I think for PENTA, right, a lot more positives coming out of the first 2 games, even being 0-2 in comparison to TRC. So we'll see what they can get done. You know, we've seen Rulfchen 2 times on the Trundle, and he's found, you know, success sometimes, but never really enough to amount to full-on victories here. But Aurelia going to be the first ban away from Madley. Of course, we saw him pilot at one time. Did look too terrible as TRC. We'll see what they want to respond with. We've seen a wild kind of variety of bans, it feels like, so far at the tournament, and on this patch in particular, because for a very long time throughout this season, really, it feels like there's always been this sort of set 4 or 5 bans. Now we're starting to move away from that trend and more towards actual player and team-focused bans, actually.
Yeah. And, you know, I feel like I'd like to see maybe some priority on the Lee Sin for Taxa, maybe move back to some comfort. It was obviously denied in their game versus Bruness. He took that away from them, so maybe I'd like to see, you know, something on that front. I think Trundle, like you said, probably a pretty solid ban if you're tricked. PENTA, though, taking away some pretty solid picks himself here. Madley and Poulsen do play that Aurelia. The Fresh enables DenVoksne's kind of champion pool as well, and it's just overall an amazing support in the meta. There's that Trundle ban actually from Rulfchen, denying that from Taxa. We'll have to see what TRC's final ban is going to be here, because maybe they were planning on banning the Trundle themselves, Does free up obviously one of those bans, but we'll see what they're going to leave open because there's still a lot open right now.
Yeah, with Fresh down, you obviously look towards those AD junglers typically, and we'll have to see whether Tricked want to, just will it down one extra step. They're actually going to self-ban Tristana. Very interesting coming out from Tricked, but there's the Lee Sin that you spoke about, and honestly, actually thinking about it, was Tax's Lee Sin that kind of got Tricked here in the final game. Found the fantastic kick onto Dior in the finals to complete the series and lock in first seed and become champions of the NLC. Let's see what the response will be. You've got things like the Viego, you've still got loads of AD carries up. DenVoksne is going to have to pick a new AD carry. He's only played the Tristana so far at this tournament. So we'll see what he has up his sleeve, as it's going to be the Xin Zhao to try and match some of that early aggression on to the Lee Sin.
I'll let us pick up. It's it can be aggressive. You can set up early. Now, typically, I'd see the Xin Zhao paired up with something fairly aggressive in the mid lane, something that can kind of back him up on the skirmishing. But something that has been consistently picked up and doesn't really suit that is the Orianna from Poulsen. It's a champion that he has domestically fallen back onto. They are just going to go for the Aphelios here, so some scaling AD carry options for them. Don't want to even risk giving that over to Funky. They're quite happy just to make sure that DenVoksne gets that, but without the Fresh, he doesn't have that safety net to work around. So may just see a bit of a kill lane get locked in here. Something like this Ashe, maybe pair that up with like a Nautilus or a Leona. Could be a really, really rough laning phase for DenVoksne. Definitely going to force him to take the cleanse now that Ashe is locked in. Yeah, definitely. So I think when you have the Ashe there, if you're going to be really mean and you're trying to pick on specifically the Aphelios, you could even go Orianna right now. But I think going for the support role makes a whole bunch of sense. Cleanse value is going to be really high into Ashe plus Leona. But I think when you're talking about, the response probably would have been Leona if Leon locks in the Nautilus. You're taking the bear end of the support trade anyway. So I think it makes a whole bunch of sense. And maybe you'll see Lucky lock in something else in response to this Leona pick. Or maybe we even get a solo lane lock-in from Tricked. But no, looks like it would be the Braum defensive to deal with the engages of that Leona. And oh no, last second pivot. Okay, they want the Kennen, all right. Okay, maybe they just feel comfortable with the fact that the bot lane, there's enough supports that Lucky can potentially lean on, but they're quite happy just to give over this and now ban away things that can handle the Kennen in lane. You have to keep in mind there was obviously a lane swap yesterday versus the Antonio with Syndra, which was pretty rough. But seeing that Jace ban, pretty much an expected one on that front. Expect to see the support pool get pinched. That Braum, obviously a fantastic answer to a champion like Leona. Maybe an Alistar or something for Lucky as well, is something to consider.
I think Alistar Braum, relatively solid bans if PENTA want to go down that route to just sort of shore up their bottom lane matchup. And they're taking so much time, but I think they might just be talking about their next picks. The bans might be that telegraphed for them. We'll see. Tricked. They go with the Jace ban first. You could also see something like Banara, another range sort of champion that can survive the Kennen matchup. But Jace definitely makes a whole bunch of sense in that regard. A lot of zoning, a lot of poke in line with the Ashe as well. Would be very frustrating to deal with. So let's see what they're going to ban next. They could also go for a mid lane ban if they want to separate it, but GP, safe top side.
The Orianna is actually an okay ban here for the side of PENTA. We know that it's been pretty consistently banned versus Poulsen. It's one of his better mids, but obviously you do lean very heavily on scaling if you look on Orianna in mid lane.
Yeah, see, I think the thing is that PENTA likely looking at the Orianna themselves actually as a lock-in, if I had to think about it. And the LeBlanc ban actually kind of signals that to me, that they're looking for that Orianna mid lane matchup. So maybe Tricked, despite knowing what they're going to pick their support into, are forced into a position where they feel like they have to lock in that Orianna now. We'll have to see, because if they don't, I imagine Phantomles just takes it for himself, and then all of a sudden you've got Ashe Orianna zoning, a lot of peel back, and a lot of return re-engage damage to follow. Rakan being picked up here, so more of a mid-game usage here as opposed to the laning phase. So Tricked, they're gonna have to get real big bucks out of this Poulsen counter pick in the mid lane. Otherwise, they've effectively got a bottom side which isn't really going to do too well. So that's going to be full priority for PENTA in the bottom side. Top lane, Scarface is going to have counter pick into this Kennen. Yes, he's eaten up a couple more bans, but will still likely have something in the tank left. And hovering on the Sylas for a while. See if it gets locked in, it will. And I mean, technically could even go in the top lane if it really has to. And if Scarface wants, I guess, worst case scenario, he could still take something like Renekton and just kind of sit there and be a potential lane setup. If ever they can get that wave crashed in underneath the tower up on the top side.
Yeah. Oh, we'll see what they decide to lock in here. Obviously, like I said, there is that flexibility on that Sylas. Renekton very much an option as well. They may just look for some more engage. That is a lot of team fighting locked in, a lot of pick potential to Penta and Poulsen. You know, now he's got to figure out what his game plan is. We could just see the Orianna come out from Poulsen, but maybe thinking about something a little bit more early aggressive here.
Yeah, we'll see. I think Tricked at the moment, they need an avenue to play through. And I think something like Rulfchen will definitely facilitate that. Should get you mid lane priority, but like you say, the Orianna was there for Poulsen, so they're just going to take it. So again, full scaling for Tricked pretty much across the board. They've got the Zhao there, yes, but what lane does he realistically have to play towards? Because, you know, the Maokai gonna be a pretty tricky customer to dive after a couple of waves, or a couple of levels rather. And generally speaking, Tax is gonna probably have pretty limited options unless the Penta laners give him the opportunity to actually pounce on opportunities. So I think it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be about, you know, 2-item mark again for Tricked, getting Madly flank wards and having Madly come in. But even then, Madly, he's got to deal with the Lee Sin kick, he's got to deal with potential Ashe Hour, he's got to deal with the Nature's Grasp from Maokai, which is why I actually think the Maokai pick really great in shutting down some of these flanks. As long as they know what direction the Kennen's coming from, just presses R in that direction, the flank's effectively dealt with. You can't really flash over the Nature's Grasp in most cases. And I think
and even if you do, you've then burnt your flash to get that gap closer burned. So it's rough either way. And, you know, it feels like, you know, Penta yesterday, they played a very, very slow game. But versus the likes of Trick's want to play a slow game. You can see from this draft, they've drafted themselves a pretty heavily scaling comp. You got the Orianna, you got the Aphelios. You know, if this game does go even and goes, you know, 25 minutes plus, expect Trick to be a team that, you know, are going to be really hard to handle. But Penta have given themselves a lot of tools to skirmish early, to find this pick potential. And if I'm Tricked, I'm shaking a little bit because that is a terrifying team comp as we take to the Rift for our second game here of day 4 at the Amazon EU Masters.
Yeah. Game 2, game 1, pretty lengthy. 40 minutes or so. We'll see if this one reaches that level of late game. We've Tricked in the game. It's definitely a possibility, but I have to look over to Penta to see what proactivity they can find in some of these lanes. A lot of setup. Just about everywhere for Rulfchen to work with. So you imagine it's going to be about on what information they have on the rest of the map, where tax areas, teleports, advantages and what have you, to make sure they can always make plays with the most numbers. Buff Tricked, again, a very by the books Tricked kind of composition. And I think that's definitely one thing back in the NLC, they could kind of get away with it. A lot of teams did kind of struggle to build pretty big leads, and actually surprisingly Tricked, at least in the first half of the split, very strong at building up their own leads, even with these kinds of scaling drafts. And then the draft would then kind of carry them through the rest of the game. Back end of the split, definitely felt like they would suffer a little more in the early game than rely on the draft there then. So Penta, look towards you, and I say, where will you attack? Because, again, options are plenty in this game.
Yeah, it does feel like the onus is on Penta to be the ones attacking. I think if you're Tricked, you're quite happy just relaxing for now, just playing this game out a little bit more chilled. As we are going to take to the laning phase and not really seeing too much early action down in that bot side. No, you know, cheesy little pick attempts as both junglers start up on the blue side, doing their full clear. So does mean that Taxa and Rulfchen will avoid each other, as Taxa actually forgoing his wolves and wants to get into his red side as quick as possible.
And with them both ignoring each other, actually, Taxa left up his wolf camp. Alright, we'll see if he maybe makes a return down, what the pathing idea will be here. Loads of pings, and they will spot Taxa out, Penta, so they know exactly where he is. They should have a rough idea that Tricked will be playing for this topside skull. And Rulfchen should secure this bottom side 1-3. As Hunky and Leon full control on the bottom side as they find DenVoksne.
Oh. Yeah, Leon does take a tower shot for his troubles there. And DenVoksne, with the red gun, should be able to heal up.
Yeah. 3 pots, red gun, but key thing, it's Leon that's taking the damage and then DenVoksne on the other side. Funky left relatively untouched, so I think probably a trade that Penta are a little happier with. Taxa on a ward, but at the end of the day, always was going to be his Skullcrab the top one, so We'll get that one taken down, and we'll see it's a pretty big up stacked wave here, but Scarface is full HP, so no dive really going to be had there. And Rulfchen just full clearing, so no crazy aggression off the first jungle clear from either side. But
I
definitely
think it's going to be about setting up a lane for a dive.
Yeah, I think
I feel
so
like
too.
if you're a jungler right now, the only way you're going to actually get a gank off is a good dive. And this wave bot side slowly stacking, but it's not amazing. And as our observers are highlighting for us as well, ward. So Rulfchen,
Yeah.
they now know that ward is there. It's going to get cleared out by Leon, but Rulfchen able to move into this jungle and actually not spot out the wolves with the Scryer's bloom, but he's going to make his way over and spot it himself. So
Yeah, so
raiding that one out.
I actually think because Rulfchen saw Taxa on his jungle clear, ascertained which camps were and weren't up, because he would have seen Taxa on his camp at, 8 or 9 CS. The chickens, which means, hey, he missed either the Gromp or the wolves. Turns out it was the wolves, so he's got that one down. Sticking around for the second spawn Gromp. I don't know if he can execute this in time. It's going to be pretty close. He's going to drag it down as far as he can. I think Taxa is going to reset the patience, yeah. He's going to have to make his way out.
And Phantomles actually taking a lot of damage from Poulsen. Poulsen pretty
Kingslayer.
Kingslayer's available. He flashes over. What an outplay by Phantomles with the Kingslayer heal.
That was sick from Phantomles. Flashes over the command attack means that he gets his Kingslayer cooldown back up. Fantastic stuff. Catches Poulsen completely unawares. Amazing outplay in the 1v1 there.
Oh no, lucky.
Ooh.
Zenith Blade's on. DenVoksne doesn't really have the capabilities to deal with this as they find the knockoff of the Funky there. Now it's been thrown down, and just like that, Tricked find the kill.
Okay,
DenVoksne didn't get the kill though, at least.
yeah, so they lose out in the mid lane, but honestly, Phantomles again.
Oh, Poulsen.
Yeah, almost getting solo killed there as flash forward, twisted advance.
Madly able to rub his socks on the carpet, get some speed, build that static as he jumps away with the flash. Rulfchen chases after him. Madly just about able to survive. Just little advantages that they're finding. If Rulfchen finds a kick onto Madly, Madly dies there. Phantomles has found Taxa, and Taxa he needs to run away. Phantomles is just... He had his coffee this morning. He is alive right now.
Yeah, and Rulfchen on the top side forcing Madly off this wave. I don't think it's a particularly big one, but still, Poulsen flash forward there.
Poulsen, he gets a shockwave, but it is just a desperation one at that.
Yeah, Phantomles picks up that kill too. Great run from Leon. Now Madly on the top side, he's got to blow his teleport. Poulsen's going to miss a wave in the mid lane. Great stuff from PENTA across the board. Only saving grace right now for Tricked is that they found that 2v2 kill on the bottom side of the map. We have the replay here. Flash forward with the Zenith Blade. And Poulsen can't really do anything about it. He's got no flash himself, unfortunately. And Phantomles reaps the benefits of his support's roam and see what more he can do with it as Scarface. Finding Madly here.
Gonna get caught up by the slicing maelstrom. Scarface losing a fair amount of health. Meanwhile, Funky on the other side, the Graviton will pin him in place. Wow. And Funky gonna be going down as DenVoksne secures the kill.
Yeah, great little W there from Lucky as well. I think Funky had very, very limited options to actually flash away just because of where he positioned that knockup. So nice to actually give DenVoksne that kill. So again, DenVoksne now in a position currently where he's getting a couple of kills under his belt. I'll have to see how Trick can play around that, as they so often do. PENTA, however, finding big leads on the opposite side of the map in the solo lanes. 2 kills on Phantomles, mostly through his own work. Realistically, Leon helped clean up another player's. Actually, Poulsen flashed before that play, but he didn't flash during the solo kill. And I can't recall where he flashed before. Maybe I've just got bad memory. So
I thought it was in the solo kill, but I could be wrong.
I don't think it was. So somebody must have come back to the mid lane, made him flash again. Oh, it was when he chunked him out. Shockwaved him, that's right, sorry.
Yeah, that was it.
So, ooh, Tricked. Have numbers here, but I think PENTA have more. So, Tricked gonna have to back away. PENTA, I wonder if they're gonna turn this either into a Dragon Herald, lots of options into jungle invade, both buffs are up. And even Scarface is here, so Poulsen gonna have to back away from the mid lane. Looks like just forcing him off this wave. trying to extend this gold lead in the mid lane. Now Rulfchen is bleeding over into the jungle, taking away the red buff too. Scarface will miss a wave in the top side, but what does it really matter? Realistically, you're playing Maokai. That's funky, oh boy.
He's been found by Taxa.
He's got flash.
Free Talon Strike. He's been knocked up. No, he has got the flash available, but Taxa will just flash after him. The arrow connects, and they're bringing Lucky, and he goes in for the flash. Taxa, audacious charge to secure the kill. And it's been great top and jungle, great top and mid on the side of Penta, but this bot lane is starting to bleed out pretty heavily, and DenVoksne just free farming plates and get a lot of solo gold injected into him.
Yeah. It's a lot of solo plays, like you say. Real nice from Taxa to just about give Lucky the dash as well. Secure that kill onto Funky to allow this to happen, but up on the top side, it's being traded. Penna going to secure the Herald. And they've been chunked out the mid lane tower. Honestly, kind of surprised Rulfchen didn't move up here to the top side off the back of the Herald. Such a big stacked up wave. But you can see
Madly also agrees with you on that, because he backed off thinking that there was going to be a jungler flying out.
Yeah, and not only did he back up, Lucky also actually rotated to the top side first. He opened up on the top side. That's how much they expected that to actually occur. But Rulfchen just goes and returns to farming his jungle, so can build up that individual lead and see where that Herald gets put down. First Dragon is only a cloud, so neither of these two teams have really put too much priority on it so far.
Yeah. Well, we're now 10 minutes into the game. The gold lead is 200 over to Tricked, but expect that to grow a little bit more off the back of a Rift Herald usage, providing it's not completely counteracted. The problem they have is the man on your screen right now, DenVoksne, got a CS lead over Funky, has been able to pick up 3 solo plates in lane. So got an entire pickaxe up over Funky. And Lucky is able to find him. There's the Moonlight Vigil. The Ignite's been thrown down with a Calibrum shot. Lucky should just be able to finish this. Oh, you look at the turnaround. Everybody is brought to the bot side. And Lucky pays with his life as Scarface flashes over the wall. He's a madman, and DenVoksne.
What can he do?
In place. He has the graviton, but he's going to lose his life. Just like that. But Leon will trade up. No, the stopwatch.
It's psychopath gameplay, but honestly, well played, Penna. I can't fault that. That was fantastic to watch. Double flash over the wall, Nature's Grasp from 2 screens away. What can DenVoksne do? Rulfchen even stole away the Gromp there. See if he gets punished. Lucky's right here, but Rulfchen should have backup. No, they're all basing.
He's in a little bit of trouble. Has got no kick available actually for the Warthog.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. No problem.
Yeah, Madly.
Yeah, no.
Man, can we stop banning Sylas? Like, I am so bored of seeing Sylas just get free fed, man.
We've got a lot of pretty strong Sylas players actually at the tournament. So maybe it does start getting backed up, but we'll see. But let's get a replay. I hope it's the bottom side dive. It is. Okay, so Funky, you know, almost gets caught out here. In fact, no, he does get caught out. And fortunately for him this time around, he actually has the support of his jungler and the support.
Oh, the
Solar Flare, yeah. Heal plus the safeguard, but it's this Nature's Grasp double. What can DenVoksne reasonably do in this situation other than just die? Ah, it's great. And then up in the top side, let's get a look at what happens. So it just seems like Phantomles comes to collect the wave. Madly, oh, okay. All right, that makes a lot of sense. Madly, unfortunately, using the rush to clear out some of the waves and get his passive stacked on it. Doesn't expect Phantomles to be there. Gets hit by the chain. Oh, wow, the replay!
The Kimbo. Looking for it. It's in goes Taxa. Down goes Taxa. Not completely sure about that one. And Phantomles is unchained right now.
Good one. I like that. Very few managing.
Yeah.
So
sometimes me smart.
Sometimes me smart. So at the moment, gold lead extended to about 1,500 gold for Penna. A little bit more than that. This bottom side tower isn't quite going to drop yet, but that's a lot of gold if Penna can make another move towards this bottom side tower. So he's standing at what? Less than 500 HP. I would be sprinting it down to the bottom side if I was Penna to secure that gold, but maybe they just let it go. Look for a play elsewhere, as it's actually Tricked also putting pings down into the enemy bottom tier 1 as well, so very clear that they want to try and get DenVoksne those final couple of plates, but I just don't know if it's going to be able to happen. Coming up in the mid lane, and moving down to the bottom side, so maybe they look for it. Loads of pings, but there are plenty of wards on both sides, so I think the play will be very, very slow if it does come out.
There's that very defensive arc as well on the bottom side of the map, which is covered by Trick, so they'll have the information to work with from pretty much any angle other than a lane gank. Poulsen should be able to hold the wave, so it looks like the attention's going, okay, we'll just give tower over, and then we'll go topside and take that tower.
Yeah.
Madly could be in for a bit of hurt as they're just giving over their topside jungle, and he has to play very, very careful.
Yeah, the movement from PENTA is so good. They're just sending 3 members mid to the tower, to the wave. They delete the wave, immediately move into fog on either side, and it just pressures DenVoksne, brother. Oh, mid lane.
Oh no. Kick comes down, Madly looking for the stun. He's able to proto-belt forward and avoid the damage as that's the stun! Madly with the kill! Okay. Not entirely sure on the setup, but able to find it.
Yeah, execution must have just been a little bit botched there on the dive. Maybe didn't get the full chain CC down. Up on the top side, it seems like Scarface did actually pick up that tower, so gold going into the tree. It's going to be pretty tanky here. As then DenVoksne looks like he'll also secure the tower on the bottom side. And a bit of a global trade, and now it's actually Trick's turn to put a little bit of pressure onto this mid-tier one. As the PENTA members coming back out from base. Not able to defend this tower, so it will get chunked out. And again, DenVoksne, man in your screen, getting the gold. Gonna be pretty happy with that.
It looks like he's actually trying to shove this wave up as well, make sure that denies as much from Funky as possible. Poulsen stepping back into the lane, Phantomles, half health, half mana. Don't fall for it. It's a bait. Shockwave goes wide. And I think Phantomles probably would have turned that if he'd eaten that shockwave anyway. He's got the Kingslayer for the heal. And we'll be able to get this mana off the blue buff. So Phantomles, pretty okay spot right now. 3-0 on the Sylas.
Should have the Everfrost on this base too, so all these first items starting to come in. Shield bow close to completion for Funky. Actually should have the gold now despite being 0-3-2. I think he should actually have that one completed up, so all of the PENTA members got that first item in, and on the opposite side, same thing for Trick.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the gold isn't that far ahead. It's not the end of the world, and this is probably the most competitive we've seen Trick look throughout the entire tournament so far. It's not been a particularly great start for them, but when it comes to these objectives, it does feel like PENTA are the ones coming out with the, the more important ones. The first towers, these Rift Heralds, and Rift Herald versus this Orianna, who's going to be able to start to stalemate the mid lane, will be really, really important in opening up the map for the side of PENTA, and that's where this game gets scary. If the tempo starts to speed up before they feel ready to play around DenVoksne, before Poulsen feels strong, you are going to have problems. There's the Rift Herald secured onto Rulfchen, and he's just going to summon it up in the mid lane. And let's take this tower, and they may just go for 2 charges here with Scarface able to zone without Nature's Grasp. This is going to be very, very hard for them, but they look to jump in onto Leona, who flashes away. Phantomles steps forward, the charge is going to go down. Poulsen flashes the shockwave, the kick comes down from Rulfchen, gets the shield off, a bit of an interesting kick there, but the Nature's Grasp has been used, and the fights are going to break out. They've got the charge, they've got the slicing Maelstrom onto the backline from Madly, locking everybody down. It's a cluster under the tower. Rulfchen's going to Poulsen finds the shockwave, securing a double kill. Madly gets the triple kill, and 5 members of PENTA will fall.
Madly just broke open this game for Tricks. They completely crushed this mid lane push. They're going to pick up this dragon as well. Then DenVoksne is catching waves again immediately off the back of the play on the bottom side. What an amazing flank from Madly. How did he even end up in that position? He doesn't have teleport. I mean, he has teleport. He must have just walked it. Absolutely amazing. And PENTA, they go for a pretty aggressive play.
He walked.
He walked. He just simply walked. Nothing else to say. He just took the long route. And in the mid lane, arrow really well aimed, but it just doesn't water on the insect. And surprise, surprise, electric hamster. And everybody dies. Real great flank from Tricked, and honestly, it's exactly what they needed. Rulfchen here does pick up Orianna eventually, but Madly gets triple kill. Real nice flank coming out.
Really scary. Now you got the Protobot, you got the Void Staff, you got the Sork shoes. He did a lot of damage in that last fight. That damage has just got even bigger.
Yeah.
DenVoksne got himself the little DOMs, so he does have that extra armor pen to deal with the front line i.e. Scarface here. Funky will be able to pick this tower up finally. It's been a long time coming, but gold injected in onto him on the Ashe. And at the end of the day, Tricked are the ones who are up in gold, however, and they can now look to try and set the map state in their favor. As PENTA are kind of four-man death balling through this Baron side.
Here's the next objective up, and I think just kind of jostling a bit, posturing for potential positioning, and also because DenVoksne is up on that top side, maybe just thinking about threatening, making a play towards that side of the map. And also it seems like maybe red buff was what was on their minds as it respawns and is taken away by Rulfchen. And Tricked, definitely with an opportunity if they can find more flanks like that for Madly. You know, PENTA really willing to be the aggressor at the moment, but they have to meet that execution flaw. We saw it botched.
So what are the next steps if you're PENTA? Because you just got completely flawed in a team fight, but you know, you still got pretty good control of the map. So what is your next steps?
Oh, it's kind of difficult. I think realistically you have to try and force plays somewhere just because of the nature of your composition here. You will innately get outscaled, I think, by this composition from Tricked, not just on a, you know, general one-to-one basis, but I think contextually in this game too. I think the game can get very difficult for PENTA to play out. Only Madly really suffers a little bit because of all of the disengage that PENTA have, so PENTA, they have to try and build up a goal lead again. Phantomles is still very, very strong, so I think trying to play numbers around this guy when and where they can, force plays around him, because he should win out skirmishes alone, as long as he gets the backup here. Ashe arrow.
Look at the Ashe arrow off. They're going to use a lot there, but the shockwave lands onto two. Here they come in with the jump. Funky's unloading, but he's going to get taken down. DenVoksne comes in huge. Triple kill for him. And Tricked just run away with a team fight back to back.
All right, so you just asked me, Jake, what can PENTA do? I'm not sure anymore because that's a pretty horrid fight to lose at this time, because now they're going to lose Baron. And not only that, Tricked also had the first two dragons spawned up, so they're 2 dragons away from this Infernal Soul. This is Baron 100% going over to Tricked. And we just kind of said, right, PENTA on a bit of a pseudo timer, right? They have to be the ones that aggress and find picks. I was trying to set up, maybe just play around Phantomles, but they kind of tried to do that. They get the play turned right back around in their face. Baron's gone. Map control realistically gone. They're not going to be able to reasonably contest this dragon, I don't think. And it all comes from this play here, just kind of trying to force onto Taxa. Once he uses the Crescent Guard and it goes down, say maybe we can burst him underneath the tower. But the response from Tricked is excellent. The layering of CC great initially, but the Shockwave stops any more burst damage, and it's just lucky on the immediate turnaround with DenVoksne damage coming out from the Moonlight Vigil and all those chakras. 3 more kills onto the AD carry of Tricked, and Starman, we speak about him a lot, and there's a reason for it.
He had the perfect guns for that fight.
Yeah.
The absolute perfect guns, as they do find Lucky able to jump away with that grand entrance, and the zoning ball is going to be enough just to keep Phantomles from jumping in forwards. And the man on your screen also going to be a real nuisance. Wasn't even in that fight.
Nope. And that's the worst part about it. You imagine Madly had an angle to follow up on Lucky's re-engage there. Everybody on PENTA dies. So, I mean, everyone on PENTA still died, but with the Baron in pocket, they can pick up this top tier 2. A little bit of extra gold into everyone's wallets, but they are on the opposite side of the map from the Dragon, so I think this is a bit of a misstep from Tricked, actually. A bit of a mistake in terms of priority here and what they do and don't need. Dragon is spawning in 5 seconds.
Recalls, but like, yeah, they're not going to be on the map in time.
Realistically, PENTA don't need to be hitting this mid wave. They could just kill the Dragon on spawn. It's still going to be kind of difficult for Tricked to approach, but I mean, okay, Tricked made the first mistake in not prioritizing the Dragon. PENTA make the exact same mistake, not trying to take it down as...
Oh, Rulfchen, he's going to get locked down, he's going to get taken out, he gets the kick off, but the damage will come in from the Moonlight Vigil, Madly on that flank. Slicing Maelstrom's going to zone Funky away as he is just squashed. Looking for that shockwave, looking for that turnaround. Nobody on Tricked is dying here. Scarface punch up the Nature's Grasp, but he will be chased down as DenVoksne will slowly but surely kill him off screen. The ace is picked up by Poulsen. That's the second one of the game for Tricked, and This game is now snowballing out of control for Penta.
Yeah, I think is maybe the wrong word. I think it has snowballed out of control already. I don't think there's many reasonable ways for Penta to come back into this game unless Trick to make a really big error. I think Penta were on a bit of a timer. They had the opportunity. They tried to go for the mid lane dive at the tier 1. It failed. They go for the tier 2 dive as well on the Herald charge, and Madly just breaks the play wide open. From then, really, Trick have had pretty much full control, and gold lead almost 10,000 now. And I don't think we're going to get a repeat of game 1 at all, where we see this very long, drawn-out 40-minute game. I think once DenVoksne picks up this Infinity Edge, which he just has.
Oh, he sold it.
Oh, we'll see. I think he's still going to pick it up. But yeah, I mean, Penta, it's just really weird decision-making on both sides. I think Trick should have been at the Dragon on spawn. And I also think Penta should have been on Dragon at spawn too, to at least deny away the soul, but they end up in this very precarious position where they're forced into a fight which they're never ever going to win. They're just way too far behind, too split up. Madly effectively solo kills Funky. And they're not really able to play out this kind of, you know, single target burst, loads of sort of break up the fight, skirmish, CC type composition that Penta have.
He went Guardian Angel. Interesting.
Okay, so
he actually picked up the Infinity Edge and then went, actually, I don't want to die.
Yeah,
I want to be as scary as possible to deal with.
I think realistically though, I can kind of understand it. I think if you don't die, you are a bigger threat, and I think a lot of the composition from Trick can regain control over where DenVoksne's body, maybe if it does go into stasis on that Guardian Angel, through things like Xin or through things like ball control from the Orianna. So I don't mind it, quite honestly.
Yeah, no, I think
dies,
it's actually a pretty heads up idea there. Yeah. He's also worth 1,000 gold on a shutdown, so if they can deny that 1,000 gold getting picked up, that's going to be a pretty big one as Lucky. Just playing some vision games here, popping those blast cones, making sure there's no flank opportunities onto DenVoksne. He's almost got level 16, actually only just ticked 15, so it will be a little while before full marks on the Moonlight Vigil comes in. Poulsen just going to zone with the ball.
Right now, Trick can kind of just set up like this. They don't really have much else to play for. They're just playing in 2 lanes. Really good stuff. Madly in the mid lane. And then the rest of the 4 on the top side only leaves 1 angle, realistically, for Trick to ever have to worry about. And there's no wards for Penta to teleport to anywhere to find any kind of dream flank.
Oh my lord.
It is so much damage. And I mean,
I actually think Phantomles took a pretty nice ultimate there.
Penta
use that quickness, you in tandem that with the Nature's Grasp is huge, but the problem is Madly just steps a little bit back out of lane and suddenly you don't know where he is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of vision for him to walk through freely and comfortably to get into a good flanking position. He hasn't got flash, however, so it's something to keep in mind, and they are looking for him, but he's quite small.
Quite fast as well. Just not going to be able to find the angle. Engage options definitely there for Penta, but just feel so limited in the circumstances. And I mean, Tricked, all they really have to do is kind of just sit here and kind of wait for Dragon Soul to spawn up. Baron is up and oh, wait a minute. Penta, there's a bit of an issue going on in your base. I don't know if you've noticed yet, guys.
It's called a hole in your base, and it might actually be a little bit more. They're having to teleport members in.
I mean,
tower goes to half HP,
Pincer,
and now the Nature's Grasp is getting thrown down. They're looking for the fight here, potentially. They're looking to jump in. Can they find their opportunity? Teleports are coming in from the start. A trick for DenVoksne, already pretty low. He's able to heal up. There is the slicing maelstrom. It has just gone so wrong for Penta. They are wiped from the map. And Tricked will find their first win of the group stage.
Tricked, honestly, I think as soon as Madly found that ultimate in the mid lane, they were always going to find much more teamfight success, and that they did. Penta, I think, ran out of opportunities. Too many misplays in the mid lane. First botch dive into the second botch dive. Too many resources granted over to DenVoksne, unfortunately. Trickstar man, that's what they like to do, and it's how they played out this game. Full credit to them, because once Tricked had the lead, they played that phenomenally for the most part. A couple of questionable decisions here and there, but outside of that, nothing really game costing anyway. Penta came out with a plan. They started to execute very early on, but unfortunately mis-execute one too many times against a team that plays such a scaling heavy style. you can't really close out when they've got so many tools to just consistently turn it back in your face.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that game and potentially have an interview. I should have checked that, but we'll be back in a moment to talk a little bit more about that second game. See you in a moment.
It's gonna flash in, and he steals the bomb! How did that connect by injury?
Fini! As EU Masters Champions!
everybody, and welcome back to the Amazon EU Masters. We actually have the AD carry from Trick standing by for an interview to talk a little bit about that game. So we're going to bring DenVoksne in. DenVoksne, first of all, congratulations on your first win here in the group stage. It's good to speak to you again. We haven't spoken since the finals. How are you doing?
Yeah, well, we just won, so that's pretty good. But obviously the 0-2 start and now the 1-2 ending to the week is not ideal. So overall, it's okay. It's still in our hands. We can still make it. We can still do well, but we need to step it up for next week. And I think we'll do our very best. And I think it's very doable for us. So I'm excited. And
So what do you think went wrong in the first two games? Why those first two losses? Obviously, they're hard teams. Don't get me wrong; they're definitely very strong teams. Yeah. What went wrong for you guys?
I think maybe it was nerves. Maybe I think it's so weird for us as a team. It feels like we need to play a little bit, and then we are like we're warmed up, and then things work out better. I think we played considerably better today even though PENTA obviously is 0-3 now. But it's the same, I think, kind of in the final. Like we went down 0-2 and we played really poorly, and then we were like, it switched on. We were ready. Now we were warm. Now we understood, and I think now we just play considerably better. So hopefully next week we won't throw at the Herald. We won't get TP behind on bot lane. Like, it was very simple, I think, and we looked at it, and Lucky in the first game, for example, could have easily swept the ward behind. He had sweeper, he swept the river instead of the bot lane bushes, and boom, we get TP behind, and the game is really hard. So I think we just need to be more consistent, and we need to be more aware of the small things that can cost you games when you play against really good teams, because they won't give you the lead right back, and that's what they showed.
Yeah, and you said, you brought up a couple of things there as well, but you said, for next week you got to step it up. What kind of things do you think you need to actually work on right now as a team? Because I think Tricked definitely has a very staunch identity. You guys are very much, it's no secret, you guys like to play for yourself, but it can be shut down. What else do you think you guys have in the locker to actually, get you through week 2 and maybe into the knockouts?
I think we have plenty of things. I think it's kind of like, it's kind of like it crumbled a bit in the first 2 games, and that's why I think it looked so bad. But we, as I said, we talked about it, and I think we figured a lot of the things out that went wrong, not just from like, oh, this shouldn't have happened, but like, how do we actually come to the root of the problem? How do we actually make sure that next time we understand everything about the map state, so we don't make dumb decisions again? And I think we took it more slow today, and maybe that was not the best way to play it, but we just needed to, make sure we don't do anything stupid. So then we'll win. I think we're a really strong team when it comes later in the game and in the mid game, but the problems arise, I think, mostly in the early game, and I think we've talked a lot about it, and we understand more now. I think it's been very helpful to play against good teams and see what they do.
I think at the end of the day, mate, you've probably learnt a lot even in those losses. So congratulations on finally finding a win. Good luck going into the next round of the round robin. We got to let you go and get on with the rest of the show. So see you later, mate. All right?
Yeah. Bye. Thanks for the talk.
At the end of the day, they did find themselves the win. It was a pretty convincing win as well. And honestly, we needed to see a convincing win come out from Tricks because they'd had a very, very rough go of it for their first 2 games. So a much needed win for them. And I think the key thing was we highlighted how they needed to play around DenVoksne. But this fight here, DenVoksne, sure, had a great time. But it wasn't DenVoksne that decided this fight, right? It was the rest of the team had also played very, very well.
Yeah, I think a couple of missed executions on the PENTA side on the dive. And then as soon as Madly has this entrance, it's just lights out for PENTA. There's no way they can come back from, a team fight like this. In this particular fight, but then again, it just happens back to back to back, where Trick just finds these far better fights. And again, we was talking about on cast. All right, how do PENTA make their way back in? Because right now it's even state, but PENTA are the ones that probably have to force agency because they're not the ones that are scaling. They go for the play around Phantomles, their Fed member. It's turned around on their face again, and this is without a slicing Maelstrom from the Kennen. The Kennen actually teleports incredibly late, and from that point on, it turns into a Baron, and then PENTA, again, I said I think Trick should have probably been at this dragon anyway, but PENTA were taking jungle camps 20 minutes into the game, denied the Infernal Soul at least, to me. But Tricked, convincingly just wiped them for their mistakes.
Yeah, it was honestly Tricked. It felt like they had Penta's number this time around, and I don't think Penta played slow like they did yesterday, but they weren't being necessarily as proactive when they probably should have been. They probably could have. They had tools to set up earlier. I think it's a tough talk from the PENTA side of things, because I think for the first 15 minutes they were being proactive. And they were using their tools, but I think it just all comes down to those 2 mid dives at like 14 minutes and 16 minutes back to back, where the execution just wasn't there. They tried to dive Madly, they couldn't kill him. They kill Madly, maybe they chunk out the mid lane tower, maybe they take it down entirely, and then on that second dive, Madly just has access to the backline, and the initial dive from Rulfchen doesn't result in a great insect kick, so they don't find a key target to immediately blow up and actually have a successful fight. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, that was kind of going back to akin of what we saw for Trick domestically. Great team fighting, really good positioning from DenVoksne in the fights, and just kind of allowing him to unleash, but the rest of the team also playing very well around him. And it's something they definitely need to keep going into the next stage of the round robin. But we're going to be switching groups up here as we move over to Group C. Coming up after the break is going to be Fnatic Rising versus Zero Tenacity. Don't want to miss this one. We'll see you in a moment.
He's gonna flash in and he steals the farm. How does that connect by Edgeway?
As EU Masters Champions.